Hi everybody, welcome to the latest episode of RomCom Reviews, where I do little reviews of romantic comedies from my point of view and pretty much based on my perspective and what I'm looking for in rom-coms, rather than like a straightforward recommend, do not recommend. Kind of talk about what I saw and what I liked and what I didn't. And today I'm going to be talking about a really new movie on Netflix. It's 2019. It's a Netflix original, which I don't know if that's something that people especially want to see, because a lot of us have Netflix. It's not in major movie theaters, so it's a little bit more accessible. Or if that's, I don't know, kind of annoying. But it caught my attention and I was going to watch it anyway. So I thought, hey, let's do this one. And it comes after You've Got Mail, which is sort of a classic one, an older classic one. So this is, I think, a good balance with that. The film is called Always Be My Maybe. It's 2019, starring Ali Wong and Randall Park. It's also written by them, and it was directed by Nanachka Khan. I'm not entirely sure I pronounced that properly, but I think I did. I'm really excited to watch this when I saw it on Netflix. It had an interesting concept. Those two actors are pretty funny, and put my pen down. And Nanachka Khan was the director, or also the writer, or maybe the writer of Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23, which I loved. I think that sitcom, it's not on anymore. It is on Netflix. It's very funny and very weird, and I love it, and I definitely recommend it. So I was really excited to watch it, and my boyfriend and I had a night in, had dinner, we watched it, and I didn't like it. I didn't hate it. I definitely didn't hate it. I thought it had some good aspects, and I don't think it's a terrible way to spend 2 hours of your life, but based on the things that I look for in romantic comedies, it's not for me. It didn't work for me. And so I want to talk about why it didn't work for me. But after my epically long You've Got Mail video, where I made the common mistake that I make, which is trying to talk about everything that I see and everything that I think, I'm going to try to focus, because that video is stupid long and kind of unstructured, because I had so much to say and I wasn't editing myself. I mean, I edited myself after the fact, literally editing it, but oh my god, that took a while. These are kind of the things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about just some basic sort of info about the movie, and then I want to talk about the major relationship between Ali Wong and Randall Park, so their characters, and talk about why I did not think it worked. Because that is the aspect of a rom-com that is most important to me, and kind of makes or breaks it for me. So despite the other things that this movie has going for it, overall it was a pass for me, because I did not feel the relationship. So I'll get into that. First, I just want to touch on a couple of other things about the film. So the premise, really quickly, is that the character of so Ali Wong's character Sasha and Randall Park's character Marcus are childhood friends. They live next door to each other growing up. They spend a lot of time together. As kids, they're like best friends, and then when they kind of hook up when they're in their teens, and then it sort of fizzles from there, and then they don't see each other for 15 years. And then present day of the movie is 15 years later, 2018 or 19, when they see each other again, and then things kind of go from there. And she's become a successful chef, and he's done less with his life, and anyway, it goes from there. So a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. I think that the idea of this movie was really good. Like, I kind of see what they were doing. First of all, I think it's awesome that almost all of the casting of this movie is minorities. So the main characters, the friends of the main characters, the parents, obviously, minor characters, really, but anybody, I think, who gets a speaking role, most anybody who gets a speaking role, is a visible minority, and that's great. I didn't realize at first. It took me a while to kind of notice, and then I was like, wow, that is very uncommon for sort of mainstream movies. I want to say romantic comedies, but all movies, basically, unless there's a very specific reason, like Black Panther, right? Or there are some movies, there's sort of like a genre of comedies and romantic comedies within the African American community, like Tyler Perry, that kind of thing, where they'll have all Black casts, but it's treated as separate. It's not necessarily mainstream movie, and so this movie having all minorities and having like different ethnicities, so I really like that element, and the fact that it was set in San Francisco, it just makes sense. It reflects the diversity in the population there, so that was really cool. And there's, because it's written by Ali Wong and Randall Park, there's sort of cultural commentary on Asian communities, which is great. I think it's really fun to get a glimpse into different cultures and the kind of, I assume there's sort of stereotypes that exist in those cultures. Those two actors, I'm assuming, / writers, I'm assuming writing from their own experience. And it's really interesting to see those little sort of nuggets of like cultural differences. So I really like that aspect. Oh, so I just wanted to acknowledge that I'm using a different background. I don't know. I'm trying to play around with things, maybe make it a little bit nicer, but as I sit here talking, I realize that because I'm not on a couch and there's nothing behind me to readily sit on, the cats can't really interact with my setting as much as they have in the past, which makes me sad. So maybe we won't do this in the future. Or maybe I'll make like, I don't think you can see this, but so there's a shelf. I could just like take stuff off of here and make a little nest for them. That could be fun. Anyway, let me know how important the random rogue cats are to you. Back to the film. So the cast of characters, very cool. The music is kind of like hip hop and like electronic a little bit, and just not what you would expect from this type of movie, and it really adds energy and freshness to the film genre and the film. So I liked that too. I thought it was some really great music. And so I want to acknowledge those strengths, because I think that the way I can see what they had in mind, and I can understand why that could be cool. But I feel like those things, I can't help but think that they fought so hard against romantic comedy cliches, or tried so hard to go towards realistic and sort of awkward human dynamics, that they went too far and sort of lost the magic and the spark and the romance of a romantic comedy. But you can't strip that entirely, because it's part of the genre. At least for me, that's an essential part of the genre. So this light, which I thought would be so pretty, is making me sweat because it's so close to me and it gives off heat. So I'm going to turn it off. Okay. Hopefully that hasn't made much of a difference at all. So what was missing from this movie, in my opinion, was the chemistry between the main characters and the momentum of the love story that builds, and you can feel it building, and then it kind of arrives at something. I felt like that was not really there. And I'm going to splice in a couple of clips from the movie because I have an English lit background, and I think it's important to provide evidence of your claims about a text. So in this case, the evidence is clips from the movies. So I want to start with the first sort of romantic interaction that they have. So they're 18. His mother has just died, and they are hanging out in a car being sad because his mother just died. Angie, can I help you? She's got lots of feelings. They are in this car listening to D'Angelo, which is very 90s, so I appreciate that. And then they hook up. And I don't know, guys, like, I'm not feeling it. It's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, Marcus. I don't know what I was...
All right. You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Right.
How are you?
Oh, I'm so great.
Oh.
It kind of happens out of nowhere, and then afterwards, they both seem to feel really weird about it, and then they get in this weird fight. But in my opinion, there's a lack of chemistry between the characters, between the actors, I suppose. It doesn't feel like the beginning of something. It just feels like teenagers making bad decisions with old friends. I don't know. We jump forward 15 years, and they both have their own lives going on that are quite different, and then they meet sort of accidentally, but not. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? Maybe on camera? Oh, this beast has lots to say. She has lots to say. You got lipstick on you now? Yes. Okay, bye-bye. Fluff all over me now. Can I help you? So basically, Sasha's friend sets it up so that Marcus and his father come to do some housework for her when she is back in San Francisco. And they meet, and...
Thank you for hiring us for this job. And congrats on the house and the baby.
Oh, thanks. It's not my house, though.
Hey, the bathroom counter is too high. I'm gonna need a stool to...
Hey! What's up? Oh, wow. Look who's here. Look who's here. And who's in the house? It's you. This is amazing.
Hi, Marcus.
Hi. Yeah. Hi, Sasha. Hi. Hello. Hi. What's up?
Long time.
Yes. Very long time. Very much so, indeed. But, you know, time passes, and now it's like current, modern... It's like we're here, and this is great.
I mean, it's awkward. Like, he's awkward. She's, I don't know, not so awkward, but kind of surprised. And I get what they're going for. I just kind of feel like the actors, especially Randall Park, can't really do it. It just feels like old friends who have kind of an awkward history who meet again. And that's fine. They don't initially have to have, like, sparks and passion, but this continues. Jumping back for a second, after they hook up in his car when they're 18, like, right after they go to Burger King for food.
Marcus, I know that you're hurting because you lost your mom. You know, I lost her too.
But she wasn't your mom, was she? She was my mom. It's because you're always at our house, eating our food, watching our TV, because your parents don't care enough to ever be around, doesn't mean you know shit about how I'm feeling.
You are such an asshole.
That whole thing I found sort of unexplained. Like, it's over dramatic. Like, why is he suddenly so upset and mean? And then, for obvious reasons, she's like, well, you can go fuck off. And that's it. Like, that's the end of their situation. And it's just sort of like, I don't know. Like, that didn't feel emotionally genuine to me, which comes up a few more times in the movies that I don't find the emotion rings true. It feels like two funny people wrote a funny movie, but needed more help to write emotional scenes that rang true. That's what I think. Might be kind of harsh. That's my perspective. And then the next scene together after they, see each other after 15 years, she's working in her house, having a work call, and he's doing house stuff, and
It's trans-denominational. Yes! Transgressive, transforming, transcendent. Oh, brilliant. Excellent thoughts as always. Thank you, Julian.
Does it get tiring doing that?
My work? Yeah, I love it.
No, your phone voice.
My what?
You know, that voice you use on the phone. Brilliant, excellent as always. Ta-ta, Julian.
Okay, first of all, you sound like Count Chocula. And that's very rude, Marcus, especially considering I'm the customer paying you money.
It's just funny because I know it's not you, that voice.
Well, you haven't known me for a very long time.
this really rubbed me the wrong way. If somebody that I knew up until I was 18 was back in my life when I was 33 and tried to tell me who I was, no. Like, that's so long ago. So much has happened to anybody. And that just, it felt like it was like, look, they're still in sync. But instead it just seemed kind of douchey. I don't know. I know that my expectations are probably too high. Things just feel kind of off. They just feel like rushed or like unclear or like it's all a little bit off to me. And so after that, they spend some time together. She goes to his show and meets his girlfriend, who is ridiculous. And then they all have, this is the other thing. It's like, so they hang out a few more times, and I want to touch on those a little bit. But first, full disclosure, I watched this movie twice, which I didn't do for I Feel Pretty. I felt like I lost some stuff between watching it and filming. So I wanted to watch this one for a second time, also because I wanted to focus more on what I felt was a lack of chemistry, to kind of go back with that in mind. And so I might seem a bit nitpicky. The scenes between them are not very romantic. She goes to his show. Afterwards, they have dinner with his girlfriend, and you get the sense that she wants to have dinner because his girlfriend seems ridiculous and wants to like make dinner for her, and she's a celebrity chef, so she can like basically mock her.
I'm a huge fan. You have to let me cook for you tonight.
Oh, Sasha has to get up early,
Well,
so...
not that early.
Really?
So there's a couple of times when they are hanging out, just kind of chatting, which is nice. I like that. I like, sort of casual interaction between the main characters, but they really come across more as old friends than as people who are harboring feelings for each other. It's awkward, but it's just sort of like they're awkward people awkward, not like I'm attracted to you and that's making me stressed awkward. They talk a lot about their relationships in ways that feel more like old friends. After she has a fiance and they break up. And after that, she's like bemoaning the fact that they broke up and she's going to die alone, blah, 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 blah. And he says something like,
All these men keep saying how much they want a strong woman. What they really want is a cheerleader. So yeah, I'm gonna die all alone in a big house all by myself in complete, utter, and deafening silence. I can feel it, Marcus.
There.
There? That's all you got?
Well, I had more at the beginning of your speech, and then I forgot it by the end.
and I don't know if that's a punchline, but I find it kind of just like douchey. I mean, fine, that's like your style, but I'm not getting budding romance here. I'm getting like being extremely honest and real with old friends that you don't feel you have to be really on your best behavior with. And there's something nice about that, but again, it didn't feel romantic. Yeah, they just feel like old friends sort of reconnecting. So in line with this whole issue, there's another moment in the film that is an example of a pet peeve that I have in films. Basically, it's the idea that characters or a film is telling you what's happening instead of showing you. At one point, when he's still with his girlfriend, he's talking to his dad, and his dad is saying he doesn't really like Marcus's girlfriend, Jenny. Marcus is like, I should not be trying to like quote these word for word. Like, this just like, that doesn't help anybody.
Because I've always had my doubts about Jenny.
What? No, you haven't.
I have. I just didn't want to meddle.
But now you do.
Yeah.
Why?
You know why.
Just say whatever it is you want to say.
Because of Sasha. You and Sasha are great together. You always have been. You always have been.
Just because the character tells me that doesn't mean I'm convinced. That doesn't mean that I've actually seen that play out, because I haven't. Like, they've had some nice conversations, they make each other laugh, but great together? Not especially. You gotta convince me. You gotta show me. Don't tell me. And I want to go back to, I think that part of the issue might be the actors. I'm not sure that they have, at this point, the skills to create that kind of chemistry. That's not to say that they can't improve, but I don't know how much of this type of acting they've done. I think that they're comedic actors, and I know Ali Wong is a comedian who does like stand-up and stuff, and she's very funny. But I'm not sure how much sort of emotional and like serious acting they've done, and that might be part of the problem. It might just be that I'm not a fan of their acting styles, that I need a little bit more. I want a little bit more affect. I want a little bit more animation, especially Randall Park. I find that he has like two expressions and they both look sort of confused. And he has sort of one tone of voice. It doesn't really change much. I'm not sure that he can carry a movie, you know? So one of the sort of unexpected, absolute gems of this movie is Keanu Reeves playing Keanu Reeves. I said I wouldn't recommend or not recommend this movie. I lied. I'm going to recommend it because of Keanu Reeves playing Keanu Reeves. You should watch it for that reason alone. And if it gets a bunch of views and is relatively popular for that reason alone, I'm okay with that. I can live with that because it's a stroke of fucking genius. It's so good. If I didn't feel like the film should do what it's doing well, and that was all it was doing, I don't know if that makes sense, but if all it was doing was just being really ridiculous and funny and making fun of Keanu Reeves, then I would be like A+, because that's amazing.
Guy is Keanu Reeves.
Hey, boo.
he walks in and he has a soundtrack. And that's something that I really like. I really love, like, characters walking in slow motion with a soundtrack in the background. Whether it's sort of sincere or comedic, I love it. It makes me happy. If it was up to me, I would walk around in my life with a soundtrack in slow motion. I think it's great. And so I really love that part. And the whole character is so good. He makes himself out to be ridiculous, which is why you have characters, like, celebrities playing themselves, right? I realize now that I've said it out loud that it's not dissimilar to James Van Der Beek in The Bee from Apartment 23, because James Van Der Beek plays himself in the sitcom and is just, like, sort of awful, but in a very funny way. And it's sort of a similar thing with Keanu Reeves, even though it's a different kind of awful, so I don't feel like it's recycling the same joke, because the Keanu Reeves character is very much like what you'd expect if Keanu Reeves was himself, but also an asshole. It's like super like hippie and like earthy and emotional, but like in a very, like in a displaying kind of way to come across a certain way, and tries to be really like edgy and manly and like complicated and dark. And humble, but not humble at all. Like, sort of like humble brag humble. So, that's great. He's great. Definitely watch it for that. I put that aside. There is, like, weirdness about that, too, because she meets Keanu Reeves. We don't know it's Keanu Reeves yet, but she tells Marcus that she's met somebody, and then proceeds to tell him that they've had great sex. Like, just, like, she just offers this information with enthusiasm.
I have some news.
So do I.
Mine's big.
Mine's big too. Okay, look, so I was talking to my dad, and...
Okay, I want to go first. I met someone.
When?
At that rap party I catered. Marcus, he's amazing. I can't believe a guy like this is actually into me. And I don't normally broadcast this kind of thing, but we had the most insane, freaky ass sex. My toes are curled up right now just thinking about it. And look, I have a hickey, like a teenager.
There's no context for it. And that really threw me, because I feel like if I had a guy friend that I had some kind of romantic feelings for, even if I wasn't sure about them, I didn't know if I was going to act on them, I probably wouldn't talk effusively about what great sex I'm having with somebody else. I don't know. Maybe she was trying to make him jealous. It didn't seem like that. And he was about to tell her that he was interested in her, so it was like really bad timing on her part. I don't know. There's like stuff like that you're kind of like, are you sure you're not just friends? That's okay. It just seems like maybe you're just old friends. So all this stuff happens with Keanu Reeves. It's very, very funny. Randall Park punches him in the face. It's good for him. So another element of the Keanu Reeves scene is that Keanu is kind of, see, I can do that because it is actually Keanu this time. Keanu is sort of put in contrast to the Marcus character, because they go to this very fancy sort of gastronomy restaurant with the like foams and stuff. Keanu Reeves is like, he wears the right thing, he says the right thing, he makes it like just really obnoxious kind of hipstery comments about food, and Marcus has no idea what's going on. And I assume that you're supposed to kind of like Marcus because he's down to earth and he recognizes the ridiculousness of this very pretentious restaurant and this very pretentious man. But Sasha, Ali Wong, is a celebrity chef who puts together restaurants that are quite highbrow or high-end. I can't remember how people talk about fancy restaurants. I don't call them fancy. Fine dining, maybe. Fine dining or maybe a step above. She makes fine dining restaurants. They are exclusive. They are creative in their menus. They are at very specific atmospheres. So as much as I side with Marcus over the Keanu character, I feel like Sasha is pretty into this stuff. And so Marcus being so disparaging of it, just like, it doesn't make me root for them, you know?
Well, I'm not wrong about the fact that I'm hungry as hell after a $6,400 dinner. Hey, can I get a monochrome burrito to go?
So then that night, so that night, things go badly with Keanu, he turns out to be a dick. Sasha and Marcus leave together, and they hook up on the way home, and they have sex, and again, because right before they start making out in the back of an Uber, they are yelling at each other and saying really mean things to each other. And this is interesting because, at least to me, in my last episode of It You've Got Mail, I talked about how much I liked sort of hostility or antipathy between characters in a romantic context. And I kind of feel like that's what they're going for here, but I don't know if it's the acting or the delivery of the lines or the lines themselves or the fact that the context isn't quite there, but what they say to each other about each other's lives, you just feel like they don't really like each other, or that they're very different people with different values.
Yeah. Lie to everyone just like you lie to yourself.
I don't lie to myself.
You can't sit still. You just go and go and go, and you fill your life up with these awards and deals and these idiot boyfriends who are obviously wrong for you, and you lie to yourself that any of it is ever going to make you feel even slightly less miserable.
Well, what about you? Stuck at home with your dad and that car? You have all this talent, and you waste it. You do shit with it, and you say it's because you don't need all that and you're happy, but really, it's because you're scared.
It's just very intense and kind of mean, and I kind of understand. Like, I'm not saying that it's impossible that would then lead into making out, because, I mean, it could, but at the same time, it's not like you're like, wow, those two are gonna make out, things are getting hot. You're kind of like, whoa, shit, like, they are throwing down the gauntlet. They are telling each other what's what. These two hate each other. And then they make out and you're like, oh, okay. And it's not especially hot. This is something that we haven't come across before, which is me talking about like a sex scene of sorts. My best friend's wedding doesn't have a sex scene. I Feel Pretty does have a sex scene. Sort of, but I didn't really talk about it because it was fine. You've Got Mail doesn't have a sex scene. It doesn't even have a kiss until the end of the movie. Anyway, so this is the first time I'm talking about sex scenes, and I'll put it out there that, like, I can enjoy a well-done sex scene. I'm not indifferent to sort of erotic moments in film. And this is the kind of one that I could potentially enjoy because it's not just, oh, kiss, okay, next morning. It's like making out in the car, and then they do some making out in the stairs of the house. And that's nice. Like, it's, in theory, I'm all for it because, I don't know, passion is fun. But with them, it just doesn't click. Again, it's just not quite there. It feels a bit awkward. I'm not really buying it. I don't know. And so this makes me think of something else. But basically, it might be that I don't find either of these actors attractive, at least not in this movie. It's usually more exciting to watch people that let's say actors, so I don't sound like a creepy voyeur, but it's usually more enjoyable to watch actors who you find attractive play out sex scenes, but like romantic scenes, steamy scenes, whatever. So it might be that I just don't find these actors very attractive, so that might be why. So I just want to put that out there. And then sort of after sex scene where they're in bed, they look very, very confused, which I kind of found... I'll put it in here.
Oh my god.
Whoa.
And I found that, like, hit the wrong note. I wasn't really sure what they were going for there. It's not that I need couples to be, like, romantically wrapped in each other's arms, being like, oh my god, I feel so many things. No, that's not always appropriate and often annoying. It doesn't feel authentic. It didn't feel like... This whole movie just doesn't really feel like real people. And I want to make this clarifying point too, that movies don't always have to feel like real people. I feel like there's like there's different approaches, right? There's like a realistic, really down to earth, really everyday approach where you're like, I could totally see this happening. I could just slip into this and I could see this being the real world. And then there's more of a fantastic, like fantasy kind of film where everyone's just a bit too good looking and the speech is just a bit wittier than normal people are, and the situations are just a bit more romantic and improbable. And I feel like something like You've Got Mail falls into that. I would never claim that it's realistic or that the dialogue is true to life or that the emotions are super plausible. I think the emotions are plausible. The situations are not plausible. But I feel like it's like they lean into a bit of a fantasy and it works. Here, though, I feel like they went for realism and for sort of a down-to-earth love story without too many bells and whistles, but the authentic emotion is lacking. So it's just sort of lacking overall. Like, it doesn't have the fantastical elements, but it also doesn't have that, like, the genuine emotion. So I feel like that's why it's kind of flat. But that's just me, and if you feel differently, tell me in the comments. I'm happy to hear it. That actually reminds me, after I watched the movie for the first time, I looked at Rotten Tomatoes. It has an 89% there, so lots of people like it. So this is just my perspective, and I think if you see yourself in the way that I talk about these types of films, then you might have a similar opinion to me. But if you don't, then you might not. You might be like, whoa, Julia, you're looking too deeply into like these few elements, and why can't you just have fun? Why do you have to ruin things? That's possible. I am okay with that. When the romantic thing happens at the end and I'm not feeling it, it's just such a like, it's just, So then they hook up and they're dating for a while, and then things fall apart. Because of course they have to, right? It's that arc of like, ooh, things are good. Oh, things are really bad. Oh, at the end, things are good again. So it follows that arc pretty closely. And that's how you can really tell that it is aiming for that rom-com structure. And I have no problem with that. I like that structure. I really enjoy the dip. Everyone can be sad. You can put sad music in the background. I like it. But in this case, their sort of breakup is so appropriate that I had no desire for them to get back together. Basically, she takes him to some big events that she has to go to as like a pseudo celebrity, and he hates it, right? Like, he hates the food. He makes fun of all the food, even though she's a celebrity chef.
Lamb carpaccio with a Caesar ice cream?
Absolutely not, thank you. Quail egg parfait? Rather shoot myself in the face, thanks. What? I said thank you?
He hates the fancy food. He doesn't know how to dress properly. She refers to him as like a regular guy, and he finds that kind of insulting. They get into this fight where he disparages the idea of a celebrity chef. He disparages her take on Asian food.
If you think I'm such a sellout, then why are you dating me?
Well, if you think I'm just a regular guy, then why are you dating me? Oh, I know. It's because you need someone to carry your purse.
I called you a regular guy as a compliment. Like you aren't caught up in all the bullshit.
The way you are?
Oh, right. Instead, you smoke weed every night because that's so much more noble.
God forbid someone relax in Sasha Tran's presence.
Don't shame me for going after things, Marcus. You're so scared to do anything
I'm not
new.
scared.
okay? I just don't want to be some dude on your arm so you don't have to show up to places alone.
Why not? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with you supporting me? No one would question it if it was the other way around.
You don't support me. You hate the band. You hate Raga.
I don't hate the band. I think the band is great. Too great to be stuck playing in that shithole.
Well, I love that shithole. Sorry if it isn't elevated enough for you.
She loves her career. She loves her work. It gives her so much fulfillment. And he hates it. And he just wants to live a quiet life in San Francisco with his dad and his friends. And she hates that, right? She wants to be all over. She's going to be in New York opening a restaurant. And then she's going to want to go off somewhere else. And he doesn't want that. And so they end up going their separate ways after saying, again, some really mean things to each other. And it's just like, it's for the best. Like, she makes a comment about how, like, she wants him to come with her to New York and, like, go to events and, like, be her +1. And that, you know, if things were reversed, that wouldn't be a problem. So that kind of feminist perspective, which I agree with. I think having sort of the trophy wife or just having a wife who supports your career as you go off and do things is much more common. But that doesn't change the fact that they don't seem well matched. And so they break up and she leaves. And then, so in rom-coms you need to have like a major romantic gesture, right? And so her romantic gesture ends up being that she buys all this stuff off of his merch website. Sorry, he has a band. I think I mentioned that before. He sets up a merch website and they're doing really well. And then he finds out that she bought a bunch of stuff off of his merch website, which is supposed to be kind of either like a romantic gesture or just like a way to kind of click him in to be like, oh, she still cares about me. I'm going to go after her. Which is nice, except that, I don't know, what do you think? I think that's an incredibly patronizing thing to do. I mean, you gave him the impression that people in general were enjoying his merch, that he was doing better, that he was making strides, and it turns out that's not really the case. You just have all this disposable income that you gave to him, like, out of pity or something? I don't know. That didn't ring true for me. If I was him, I think I'd be kind of pissed. So I'd be like, oh shit, well, I guess I'm not in any real way doing better. There's just a girl out there who took pity on me. But then he cleans up and he goes to New York to give a speech about how much he loves her, and then they get together, and that's nice. Like, he gives a nice speech, but again, I just don't feel like Randall Park has the chops to bring it to life. And I feel bad saying this, but maybe it's just his face. Like, he always just seems sort of crumpled and sad. I don't know, it's like the furrowing of the brows or something. So he gives this romantic speech, and it's nice, and everything gets tied up really nicely, but I'm just not feeling it. I didn't feel it throughout, and I'm just like not at all. Part of his speech is that he basically doesn't want to do the things that she wants to do, but he wants to be with her.
I want to be where you are. I don't care where it is. I don't care what outfit I have to wear. I don't care if I have to eat a lot of tiny little things that I hate. I just want to be with you.
So then it's fine? Which is very romantic, but I'm not sure that works. Actually, in practice. I feel like their differences in lifestyle and goals and stuff makes them kind of incompatible. And maybe that's kind of like maybe I'm being a Debbie Downer because, like, it's just a movie, these aren't real people, but like I said in the last one, I really want to feel like these people are good together and that I understand why they are into each other and that they're better for being in this relationship, and I'm not sure that that's true here. Or if it is, it's like in an improbable way. Last thing I want to say is that I found the ending kind of funny. Cringy funny. She is opening a restaurant in New York, and he comes to the restaurant, and she shows him like after they got together, they come to the restaurant, and she shows him the name of the restaurant, and I think it's Lucy's Table, which is the name of his mother. We'll go with Lucy. The name of his deceased mother. But like, that's the restaurant. Like, there's like the menus. And to me, again, like, she does these things, and I'm like, because you didn't run this past him, and I'm assuming you didn't run it past his father, the widower of this woman. That's really presumptuous to me. And then she's like, oh yeah, and then I use all of her recipes, which is like kind of stealing her recipes after death. I don't know. Again, I'm probably being too nitpicky, but I thought this the first time that was a bit weird. So he's like, wow, I can't beat this, this gesture, but...
You win. This beats my speech.
Fundamentally, she's doing it to make money. She's using this woman's name and her recipes to build a financially successful restaurant. I don't think that's just like really sweet. I think that's a weird thing, and it ends on that. And it's just like, there's just a few things in it that I think are just kind of off in terms of genuine human emotion. So, I don't know. That's what I have to say. I'm love to hear what you think in the comments, because it has gotten good reviews, so there's definitely other perspectives. I'm not going to just say this is bad, and anybody who doesn't think so has just not thought about it enough, which is how I feel about my best friend's wedding, but it definitely has some merit. I did not enjoy it, for all the reasons I just said. I will say good night to you for now, and I will hopefully be back soon.